This is Mike Zeroh. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future content. Now, there is no doubt about it that the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy has a lot of flaws. And when I mean a lot of flaws, I mean a ton of flaws. And I think it's pretty safe to say that by far the most poorly written Star Wars film out there, without a doubt, is Star Wars The Last Jedi by director and writer Rian Johnson. There's no doubt about that. You know, I think that it even is worse than that of The Phantom Menace. But at least, at the very end of the day, The Phantom Menace, at its heart, was Star Wars. It had its moments, it had Darth Maul, it had Qui-Gon Jinn. It felt like Star Wars at the end of the day, even though, in my opinion, The Phantom Menace is a little just above The Last Jedi for me personally. Now, with that being said, a couple of days ago, we talked about The Last Jedi and why I hated The Last Jedi. I didn't go into full detail as to exactly why I hated the movie from point A to point B. A lot of you guys have been requesting this on YouTube and on, different platforms of social media. A lot of you guys have been asking me to really, throw out all of the reasons as to why I hated the movie in order for you guys to understand. And this is the big confession I really need to make, is that yes, I hated this entire movie from the very beginning to the very end consistently. Not one thing in this movie did I actually enjoy. Literally, I really did not enjoy anything in this movie besides the visuals maybe, and that was about it. I think that was maybe the only positive thing about this film, was that the visuals were dead on. Now, if you guys like The Last Jedi, that is fine. Everybody has their opinion, and it's welcome here. But I just really wanted to talk about my true feelings, about all the things that I hated about The Last Jedi. Now, the thing that I really had a problem with in the very beginning of the movie that I thought was wasted screen time, especially on the character of Luke, is that never in Star Wars did they make a point about a character being hungry excessively or eating. Luke fishes, he milks a sea moose. That thing was just ridiculous. I mean, what were we really doing there, right? Rian Johnson having Luke Skywalker milking this sea monster, or whatever it's really called. I believe it starts with a T. I forgot the actual name. It's a very weird species. But on that world of Octu, that moment where we saw Luke Skywalker fishing, milking a sea moose, Chewbacca almost eating a porg, which is the only thing that Chewbacca even really does in this movie. Did you guys realize that? That in this film, the only thing that Chewbacca really did in The Last Jedi was almost eat a porg. Besides that, he pilots the Falcon, and that was about it. There wasn't really more to it than that of the character of Chewbacca, really. And I think the fact that, Rian Johnson completely, snubbed Chewbacca, just ignored the character, was a big flaw about the film. Because let's face it, a lot of fans out there love the character of Chewie, and I think it's one of the main reasons as to why The Rise of Skywalker at least seems like it's paying more attention to that character, is because of how much he was really ignored. So that was my one problem. The whole entire opening sequence of the island was just a total waste of time. Not to mention the entire concept of the ships running low on gas or fuel, whatever have you, where they're being chased by the First Order for the entirety of the movie. Another waste of time. I didn't understand that. And everybody in my theater, when I went to go ahead and see this movie back in December of 2017, both on the first and second viewing of the film, when I stepped out of the theater, there were people talking about it in a negative way. There were actually people talking about how ridiculous the movie really was. And I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I really couldn't, because this is a franchise that has never had any flaws. This is a franchise that never had any problems before in the past, and you can really see exactly how it was all going downhill. The other thing, of course, was how the Yoda puppet was off, to me at least. It made jokes about the Jedi books, and it didn't really make all that sense. I think that was maybe, and just maybe, the only strong point of the movie was Luke actually having a moment with Yoda's Force Ghost. But even that, I know that the puppeteer, work was a little bit different, and I do know that Frank Oz is older, so obviously he's going to sound different, but the way Yoda was kicking his feet and laughing just didn't make sense, because the reason as to why Yoda acted the way he did in The Empire Strikes Back, being all silly and such, was to test Luke Skywalker's temper. That's exactly why he was acting like that. So Yoda acting like that in The Last Jedi made zero sense to me. And that was one of the other major flaws about this movie. Leia in space was literally like Mary Poppins. I could go on with this forever. It just gave me visuals of her being like Superman flying through space. It was ridiculous. I get that there's gravitational pulls and all, but it just did not make sense at all through the ways of the Force. How Leia's just able to pull that off out of nowhere. Just the visuals, it came off as very cheesy and very much like a parody almost. This entire movie felt like a parody, is the thing I really have to say here. The other thing that I did hate about The Last Jedi was Laura Dern's character, also known as Vice Admiral Holdo. Now, Laura Dern's character, right, how did Poe have no idea who this person was when the Resistance is basically made up of 200-something individuals and you have this higher power of fewer individuals? How did Poe not know of Vice Admiral Holdo's appearance, right? You would think that he would know, and that really made no sense to me either. Not to mention, what Holdo does in the movie breaks the Star Wars franchise. You can't weaponize light speed. You can't weaponize hyperspace. That was another major flaw that changed the entirety of Star Wars, where she uses that ship, the Radish ship I believe it was, or whatever the ship was called. She is able to use it as a weapon to go through Snoke's supremacy ship. Wouldn't that make it possible for any other starship or any kind of cruiser out there to just crash and put it into autopilot and to crash through different starships out there that belong to the First Order, right? It makes you think about it in that sense. So the other thing that was poorly written in this film as well was how we had the story, the fact that the story was so convoluted that they had to have Rey and Kylo talk while they were light years apart, light years away. Now, I get it, if you want to do it 1 or 2 times, that's fine. But they did this like 3 to 4 times in the movie of them having these Force bonds. To me, it was a little excessive, to be quite honest, and I just thought that the entire sequence where we have no sense of danger between Rey and Kylo was also another flaw about this movie. You know, that was the other flaw, is that if you look at the originals, there was a sense of danger for Luke because he knows that he's right near Vader. He's there. But in this sense, Rey and Kylo are split apart. There's no danger for Rey at all in the entirety of The Last Jedi. You know, other than the fact that when she goes on the supremacy, that's an exception. But that was basically at the very middle point of the movie, or toward the end of the second act. The other thing was that, of course, Rian Johnson, what was he thinking of having Kylo Ren with no shirt? What was that all about? Because I can understand Anakin, I can understand that because he's getting out of bed, and he's having a nightmare, he was sleeping and all, but Kylo was just standing there awkwardly. Awkwardly. It was so awkward. People were literally laughing in my theater when they saw that because of the pants, and the pants looked ridiculous, let me just say that. Why was it so high up? I don't understand that. Is that a thing in Star Wars? I don't know. But the way it was done was hilarious. Just the way Kylo turns around, he's just standing there, and how Rey has to make a joke, you know, can you put a cowl on or something like that, and he doesn't say anything at all. And it kind of made people laugh in my theater, it really did. People were laughing in the background, and it started to make me, you know, smile a bit there. So, the Casino Planet, alright, Canto Bight was also horrible, as if it was trying to send the message about capitalism. I don't understand why they needed to throw that in there. Once again, you know, this is typical Disney trying to send the fans a message about real-world issues and, you know, real-world politics and everything around those in those lines. They also talked about animal abuse, basically, you know, everything related to the horses that we saw being used in the Casino City. It was a total waste of time, and it just really needed to go. It really made no absolute sense at all. It didn't. The other thing is that the Rose character, nice actress, but really, you know, who was she? She did nothing in this movie. She had an awkward kiss with Finn at the very end of the film. That goes nowhere, by the way, in The Rise of Skywalker. If you guys have read the Resistance Reborn book, there is a passage in there, alright, that they have actually unveiled on StarWars.com where basically, Finn unveils that Rose is just a friend during the events of The Rise of Skywalker, so that means nothing now. When Luke Skywalker, alright, threw the lightsaber over the cliff, many people in my theater were also either laughing or saying out loud, what the hell? That was almost like, you know, Rian Johnson just saying, alright, you want Luke to do something incredible with the saber? Nope. And just throws it. So, the last thing I just will point out here is that, you know, this movie had no payoff at all whatsoever. In this movie, I think that was another flaw, is that all the questions that were set up in The Force Awakens were not even answered. Now, I'm not a crazy fan here that's saying everything needs to be answered, but at least answer something, anything. one question. We didn't get one thing answered in this movie. This is the middle point of the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and if you're trying to model the sequel trilogy off of the originals, like the structure of it all, of how the middle point of the film is to unveil all these different revelations, it revealed nothing, and it seems like that was Rian Johnson's way of making the movie a big twist, was by revealing nothing. That's what it came off as, and that's exactly what he planned to do. That's exactly what it was. Let's not forget that, infamous interview by Rian Johnson for one of his movies. I believe it was for one of his independent films many years ago, where he says he wouldn't mind, or he actually likes the idea of dividing fans of ones, who hate the movie or ones who like the movie. And it kind of creates like this, stirred up effect among fans or among the audience. Seems like he actually likes that. So, I don't know. Those are all my points about The Last Jedi that I hated. The lightsaber duel was absolutely horrible between Luke and Kylo. Need I say more? I mean, this movie really has a lot of flaws, and I just really wanted to get out all the points as to why I hated the film, because a lot of you guys are asking me after I posted that video as to why I hated The Last Jedi. So there you have it. Share this video if you want to. Let others know about this. And yeah, if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.